On a Monday morning, Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, as we'll get you up and get you going here and talk about all the incredible things, the sweet things, like, Sweet 16 for the Lady Gamecocks. The sweet things, right? Only the sweet things this morning, not being swept.
Well, we can do this Wheel of Fortune style.
Okay.
If we have it on the board, we have Wheel of Fortune. You have 4 letters. We got S, W, E, E. And we need one more letter.
Please don't go for a P.
We can go for a T, and it could be sweet, or we can go for a P. What do we want to do? Ding, 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 ding.
I'm a positive person. I go
Sweet.
sweet. Good
Jen?
job. Good. Totally unplanned and
I like
excellent
the
work
idea
to
of
start
sweep.
the show. Yeah.
Sweep. We don't want sweep, but it is a board. It is available. So Wheel of Fortune style, SWEEP or T. And that's how you can sum up a Gamecock weekend.
There you go. So we'll get into a lot of that. Obviously, a lot happening over the weekend from a Gamecocks athletic standpoint, from a NCAA tournament standpoint. How does your bracket look?
I'm about to check it now.
Yeah.
I made a very I didn't there's a couple things happening here.
Okay.
First day, I was on top of the brother and cousins bracket.
Nice. Okay.
At the top. Number 1.
All right.
I'm no longer there anymore. My cousin got on a heater.
Oh, boy.
At one point, he was at 98% on his bracket.
Are you serious? 98%.
It was crazy.
You need to give that relative a shout out.
So shout out to my and here's his biggest issue. Here's where he's gonna win, because not only is he doing well in his overall brackets, he's also a University of Florida alum.
Okay.
And so he has them going all the way. So he had them in his brackets, and he's going with his head and his heart, and he has University of Florida. And so, yeah, right now he's at 94%, my cousin Teddy. So he's killing it right now. I guess I'm still in the game because Alabama's still alive, but not great right now.
Okay. All right. So a lot there from the weekend. You can get up and get going, weigh in. Let us know, how is your bracket doing? Where do you stand? Is it busted? Is it feeling good? Where do you stand with that? We'll get going on that. We will talk a little baseball this morning. We'll try and figure out. I asked Preston before the start of the show, all right, what are we doing with the baseball team now? Because Preston, oh boy, that wasn't good. It wasn't good. I don't know where else to go with that.
Oh, it was bad. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. The big difference between something being not good and something being bad and something being absolutely.
Well, I'm a positive person. I was trying to.
Great. It's great. Yeah. These scores are bad.
Yeah.
Far away from not good.
And it doesn't get easier. North Carolina coming up this week up in Charlotte, and then Tennessee comes rolling into town this coming weekend. And this is what we said after the Clemson game, after the Clemson series, I should say. Hey, Clemson's good. No offense to Clemson, and seriously, no offense, but that's probably about the 6th or 7th best team you'll play this year. You got a lot more talent in front of you. You got to get through in the SEC. So we'll get into that as well. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning. So we've got the sweet, unfortunately with a P, and we got the sweet. 11th, even to read it. Because I got on Gamecocks Online, and it says 11th straight Sweet 16 for the women, Preston. We take this for granted, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm sure, I would imagine, besides the folks that went to the game last night, and then if you were even maybe saw yourself checking in sometime in the second quarter, and you're like, what's going on here? We just automatically assume that this is what's supposed to happen. And they've earned that trust from us as the fans. They've earned the idea that we do take the Sweet 16 for granted. We shouldn't, but they've earned the idea that they should expect those things that we should expect those things to happen, and they continue to fulfill those promises.
Yeah, big third quarter last night for the women's team, 26-14 in the third quarter. They outscore Indiana and then roll on to a 64-53 victory last night. So good win for them. They move on, and again, Preston, this is one of those things where I think in life sometimes we, as you just said, we expect this. try to enjoy it as it's happening. Live in the moment, if you will.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult because you have expectations of what's supposed to happen, and you see the Sweet 16. It's the last time that you're going to play at the CLA this year in front of that type of crowd. It's going to be in neutral crowds. You see all the things that were happening, and you just expect those things to happen, and it's almost impossible to live in the moment. I mean, that's a very cute phrase, but you can't. It's
hard.
You live. You living, then so it's hard to live in the moment. So I hear, and I would try to do that, but yeah, you have your sights set on bigger goals, new things to accomplish, and that's where they're going.
Also, over the weekend, or since the last time that we were all together, we have had movement on the basketball, on the men's side of things, the roster. We have had some of that, Preston, and we now know a little bit more about maybe the future of where we're going here with what they're doing.
Some other fan base will now get to experience the Zach Davis experience. Some other fan base somewhere will now call us up wherever he lands up. Maybe we'll link up with that, and we'll just want to say, listen, it's an experience. It's coming your way. When they ask you about a restaurant and they're like, it's a thing. It's a thing. Is it good? It's a thing. It's a thing. Is it bad? It's a thing. The Zach Davis experience is moving on.
So we'll get into that a little bit. Also, as I mentioned, brackets being busted. 7 SEC teams into the Sweet 16. Mr. Thorne. Success. Half of the field, if you not field, but well, I mean half of the field, but I was going to say half of the teams that get into the tournament. So do we now go? Yes,
what a great question. Right at 50%, is 50% good?
Yeah.
Depends on what we're talking about. If you get 50% of your teams out of 14, is that good? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It's got to be good, right?
I mean, did any teams eliminate each other?
Not to my knowledge.
I don't know. 50 is, I mean, it depends on what we're talking about. Coin flip? I mean, if you score 50% on a test, that's not good.
Yeah, but people would frown on that. But you got you almost have half. We'll round up. You almost have half of the Sweet 16. You got half of your teams that got into the tournament. Interesting weekend from that standpoint. Needed some close wins to get the job done, but obviously Florida, Kentucky, Alabama, they all get through. Mississippi, maybe the surprise. Remember we talked about the Mississippi-North Carolina game being a massive one for the league, and they go out and get the job done. So we'll get into all of that. We'll get into all of that and talk about what kind of occurred from that. A lot to get to. If you want to be a part of the program this morning, again, 803-404-6100 is how you can do it. We'll get into the positive next. We spinning the wheel right over here. It's been moved. It's to my left now. We will get into.
Let's flip a coin. We'll flip a coin. Whichever one we want to do first.
We'll do one of sweep or sweet. We'll discuss both, though, this hour. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market, where they have a non-traditional, non-grocery store meat buying experience. Trust me, I was out of town this weekend, so I didn't make my normal trip on Friday, but this coming week, kids will be home with me. We're hanging out. We're going to go over. We're going to pick out a great steak. Probably that's what the son will get. I'll probably go with the Italian chicken skewers. I'm sure my daughter will go with the salmon. But at Old Timey Meat Market, you are guaranteed to find exactly what you are looking for, and you're going to get it at an incredible price. It's going to be delicious. That much I know, and that much much I can guarantee. Go visit one of their 3 locations. You can visit the Lexington store. You'll see me there at some point. South Congaree or St. Andrews Road in Irmo. And again, the reason I love the folks at Old Timey Meat Market is because of how they treat you when you walk in the door. They want to know your name. They want to know what you like, and they want to have the specific cuts that fit your taste. So go visit Old Timey Meat Market today. Stop by St. Andrews Road, South Congaree, or the Lexington store and tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Looking pretty good out there for your Monday morning. Not seeing any accidents to speak of. And weather-wise, we are going to see some showers today. Kind of need that rain a little bit. Scattered showers throughout the day. 71 for the high, overnight low of 46. Tomorrow, 78 for the high, 75 on Wednesday. Kind of staying in the 70s, just kind of all over the 70s, really, for the remainder of the week. By this weekend, we actually could pop into the 80s. But right now, looking at 55 on 107.5 The Game.
think the other teams are really good. I don't know what else to say, Jack. The other teams are really good, and they've outplayed us in these games, you know. So I haven't really thought about what our record is against, you know, any other teams. Just, you know, we do the best we can every day.
Those are the words of head baseball coach Paul Mainieri yesterday, talking about the South Carolina Gamecocks being 1-8 against top-ranked teams, Preston Thorne. And yeah, he's right. This is what we said following the Clemson series. Hey, Clemson's good, but you can't just say, well, they're a good team. We lost games.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good enough excuse. But here's the real issue: are they good or are they that much better? 12-2, 12-3, and 11-4. So yes, the teams can be good, but are they that much better than you? Because those numbers are indicative that they are either extremely good or we are extremely not good. And I don't know what the answer is. So we can lean on the idea that they are good, and that's fine. But again, 12-2, 12-3 on Saturday, in which 8 runs were scored in the first inning. Yeah. And then on Sunday, 11-4. That's not saying that those teams are good. I don't know what that's saying, but that's too far of a distance consistently over a weekend to just say, oh, they're good.
So I think that to me, it's not a here and how do I say this? So we talked about women's basketball being in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't an in the moment type situation. You got a first year head coach, but Paul Mainieri is an older fella, to be fair. Where is this baseball program? That's what I'm now trying to decipher is where is this baseball program? Where is it going? How quickly can this thing be turned around? What are we doing with this season? It's almost the exact opposite, if you will, where I'm trying to look to the future and figure out what this baseball program is doing compared to women's basketball. We'll talk about that in the next segment.
Sweet.
But that, to me, that's okay. What do you do? Is it a year zero situation?
Oh, no, we already said it wasn't a year zero situation. Right. We said that prior to the season because the team was not failing. They weren't coming off of a year zero situation as far as the roster is concerned. So, no, it's not a year zero situation. That's not what people were at. That's not what Paul's expectations was. That's not what the team's expectations was. It's not what the fans' expectations was. And so, I mean, we may have to recalibrate throughout the year, but year zero is not what anybody expected or would want from the team this year.
803-404-6100. I tell you what, let's get out to the phone lines. Ray wants to weigh in this morning. Ray, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. First of all, I just want to put out Don Staley and our Gamecock basketball team, and they continue to fight and win and carry that sport torch over there. Makes me really appreciate what Beamer did this fall. Thank God we had that going because when it comes to the Big Three men's sports, it's not looking so good this year other than our football program. And thing I want to say, I don't put this on Mainieri right now, but there's a common thread here, and I'm going to get to it. I'm old enough to remember when Hank Aaron, broke Babe's record and became a front office man for the Braves, and we thought, oh, this is great, man. He's going to do a wonderful job, and it just didn't work out. So what I'm saying, and Michael Jordan, has it really worked out if in Charlotte? Well, not really, but was he a great baseball player? Yes. I think the common denominator is Ray Tanner. He was a great baseball coach, a fantastic baseball coach. Named stadiums for him, named roads for him. But as an AD, his hires, I mean, you would think, our baseball program wouldn't, maybe a little drop off. But there's something to it, guys. I'm sorry to put it out there, but our baseball program has dropped to death I didn't think I would see. And I know I'm harsh this morning, but I just want to put it out there. Thanks for letting me talk, guys.
Yeah, we can have a Monday morning therapy session, Preston, depending on how you're looking at the baseball program right now.
Yeah, I don't know how else you would look at it. I mean, the weekend was as bad as it can go. It was as bad as it can go. In the previous weekends when we said, at least against Clemson, they were 1-run games and they lost in the end. Cool. And then we had Oklahoma. They took 1 game from the series. All right, cool. There's nothing to grab onto from this series. Again, I repeat the scores: 12-2, 12-3, and 11-4. If you are, I don't know what's worse. If you're a casual and you're just checking in on the box scores, you're like, yo, what is happening? Or if you actually watch the games, I don't know if you might feel worse than just if somebody checked in on the scores. And so there's no wins for them for this weekend.
803-404-6100. So, okay, now you get North Carolina this week. Then you get Tennessee. Where do we go from here?
Biggest game of the year, Paul.
Oh.
Now we're here. I said last weekend against Oklahoma, only reason why the College of Charleston wasn't the biggest game because they didn't get swept. Well, they've got swept. And so now we're here in North Carolina. 1-8 versus ranked teams. You're playing another team that's ranked. When does a thing become a thing? It feels like it's a thing now. This game against North Carolina is huge for the fans' psyche as how they view the rest of the season.
Jen, I tell you what, let's play number 9 also because you talk about the weekend and how things just go wrong. Dylan Eskew. Preston's laughing. Let's listen to Paul Mainieri. If you didn't know, Dylan Eskew gets hit in the bullpen, and now he is out, couldn't go. Here is what Paul Mainieri had to say. I apologize, Jen. Again, this is clip number 9. Here is Paul Mainieri talking about Dylan Eskew.
He was in the left field bullpen during batting practice working on some pitching drills, and one of our batters hit a ball over the fence, and he didn't know it was coming and hit him in the head. So, we were worried that he wasn't going to be able to make the start today, and when he woke up this morning, he didn't sleep much last night actually, and he wasn't himself, so we decided not to take any chances, and we scratched him from the start.
Heads up!
I was going to ask, I didn't play high school baseball.
Oh! Oh, no.
4.
This is like when things go bad, and this is
very bad. That's a very unfortunate spot. I mean, the precision, that should have maybe have been an omen. We can pack it up now.
Head home.
Yeah.
Stay at the hotel. I don't know, whatever you want to go with.
It's not going to go good for us. That's a really tough, unfortunate circumstance.
So baseball goes down this weekend again, 12-2. They get run ruled on Friday night, 12-2. Saturday was 12-3, 11-4 yesterday. And again, to me, the big question now is, all right, what are we doing with this team? Let me ask you this, because we're going to go to the positives.
Sweet.
We're going to go sweet in a few minutes. But what? Because again, I'm thinking big picture. What is our expectation for this baseball team this year? Now.
Ooh.
2 SEC series in.
That's a good question.
Do we alter it? Are we now no longer expecting postseason play? Do we throw our hands up and say, well, the SEC is just too tough?
We don't do that. Don't do that. If it's too tough, if it's too hot, get out the kitchen. So we do not ever do that. If you want to lay claim to be in SEC, you have to play in the SEC. We cannot ever do that. You might have to readjust your expectations for the team this year.
Is that fair?
Fair to who?
The fans.
No, because the expectations are what they are. So no, it's not fair to them. I'm just saying. I mean, you can have your expectations if you would want. I don't know how the rest of the season is going to go.
803-404-6100. So, again, and we'll have it for you, South Carolina and North Carolina coming up tomorrow night up in Charlotte. That'll be a 7 o'clock first pitch, 6:45 pregame right here. You can hear that. It'll be streamed, by the way, on the SEC Network Plus, so it's a home game for South Carolina. But the reason I asked Preston that, what becomes our expectation is because, look out, here comes Tennessee rolling into town this weekend. Arkansas was good. Tennessee's supposed to be better. Tennessee right now under their head coach, they are a dominant baseball program, losing their first game last week in East Tennessee State. But that's a program that's scary. But you've got to go out and play the games now, and you've got to go be competitive. So how do we change our narrative, our motto here on what the season is with these next 4 coming up?
You hold them to the standard that you're holding them to, and if they fall below that standard, then you react accordingly. But you don't adjust your standard because we took a poll prior to the season, and people had, I don't think they were unreasonable expectations for what the team was supposed to be and what they were telling us they were going to be. So I don't think you adjust. Now, maybe you can come back to reality and look at what the polls said this team was, and maybe they're actually closer to that than they are to this team. But I don't think you hold them to the same standard.
Let's go to the phone lines one more time. Taylor wants to weigh in on the baseball team the rest of the season. Taylor, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
I'm doing great, fellas. Hope you guys are doing great. I just feel like, this season, it's been tough. And you hear all the talk that we're playing tough teams now. We used to be that tough team.
Bingo.
That everyone talked about us, and it feels like I don't know if we'll ever get back up to that upper echelon of being the tough team, the people that are scared about us. I know this might be a really crazy take, but we're almost like a Vanderbilt. I mean, we have a little better football, but everything else kind of stinks. Should we just, scratch the football and, put our energy in baseball? I don't know. Anyway, I'll hang up and listen.
Mr. Thorne?
Yeah, I think you articulated that perfectly. There was a time, and that's why I kind of get annoyed with the idea of the SEC is so tough, especially in baseball. We were the team where people were like, oh, we don't want to come to Founders, or we don't want to play that team. We're not that anymore. Doesn't seem like anybody saying, oh, man, you better look out for South Carolina. We're food now in the SEC for other teams to eat, as opposed to us being the hunters. And so that's just where it is. And for the foreseeable future, at least that's what it seems to be.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning. We'll get to some text messages. But, all right.
Sweet.
We'll flip the script. We'll go sweet because we'll talk about the team that is dominant in the SEC, in the nation, across the country, South Carolina women's basketball. When we come back, you're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Corley Pool Solutions. You heard Jen give the weather report. It's supposed to be nice this week, mid-70s. But you know what? It's going to be hot soon. Ready for you to go home and jump in your pool kind of hot. So go ahead and start lining up your pool maintenance. You don't need to do it 2 months from now, 2 weeks from now. You need to do it today. Give Tracy and Laurel Corley a phone call, 803-445-8109. They believe in providing the highest quality swimming pool service at the most affordable price to you and your family. It is actually more affordable for you to contact Corley Pool Solutions than for you to try and maintain the pool by yourself. So contact them today, 803-445-8109. Flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals. That's right, more affordable for you to contact Corley Pool Solutions than for you to maintain it yourself. So call today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you, 803-445-8109.
Still no accidents to report, and we welcome that for your Monday morning. We're looking for a high today of 71, but we are going to see scattered showers. Could be starting in a little after maybe 10 o'clock this morning and continuing through maybe like 1 or 2 this afternoon, and that should round that out. But again, a few needed showers we'll have in the middle part of today. Tomorrow, looking for a high of 78 under sunny skies, 75 for Wednesday. Again, mostly sunny, and that's kind of the way we will be for the remainder of the week. Right now, though, it's 55 on 107.5 The Game.
Just want to say congratulations to Indiana for making it to the second round and giving us a hard-fought game. We knew coming in it would be very similar to the basketball that was displayed out there for the last 2 hours. Proud of our team, the way they gutted up and didn't flinch. It wasn't pretty, but at this time, it doesn't have to be. You just got to score more points than the other team and work the kinks out as we advance into the tournament.
Those are the words of Dawn Staley yesterday following the victory to send them to the 11th consecutive Sweet 16, Mr. Preston Thorne.
Sweet. Was not very sweet in the first quarter. 9 points.
Yeah.
Not a great start. Obviously, it got better as the game went along. But even at the end of the first half, it was still they were down. They were down one, and they brought out an interesting statistic as I was listening to the game that all three games that they lost this year, they were down at half. So they accomplished something new this particular game. But yeah, they had to fight through adversity. And again, coaches kind of like these things. You fight through adversity. You start off slow. You have to find new ways to win. As long as you win in the end, you always have some stuff that you can go back to.
You say that, and it just takes me back to what they've been through this year. They've lost 3 games, so we're like, I don't know if this team can get the job done. 2 of those were on the road. All 3 were the top 10 teams, and but this kind of goes back to where I think we laughed after the UCLA game, even after the Texas game, where Dawn had something to harp on, preach on, talk about during practice, and be like, hey, listen to what I'm telling you. I might know a thing or two about coaching basketball. Mm-hmm. And you kind of saw that take full effect yesterday.
Yeah, because they had to turn it up a notch. And I would imagine that the halftime speech was spirited, pointed, and pretty serious, because when they came out in that third quarter, they came out and played a different level of basketball.
One of the things yesterday was being prepared round to round. Now, look, they had no problem with Tennessee Tech, right? Like that was a 0-issue game on Friday. But yesterday, you mentioned it, Jen. If we can, let's play cut number 6 here. This is being prepared round to round because now they get ready for the Sweet 16. They'll go to Birmingham, Alabama. Here is Dawn yesterday post game talking about being prepared round to round.
I think it's really important to balance the rest part of it. Balance the active recovery, balance the film sessions, and balance really how much the players are locked in. I mean, we read the room when it comes to them. If they're focused in, our time on the court is probably cut in half. If they're not, we'll probably have more film sessions. I think we did one drill yesterday where we just went up and down. It was at the very beginning. It's a conditioning drill that we do every day before a game. And then everything else was just half court, just making sure that we're able to execute what we need to execute. They are a fine oil machine. They run their stuff. They execute it. They got you working on both sides of the court when we're on defense. Just well-rounded and calculated and deliberate in what they want to do. So they're exhausted. I know our players are exhausted. but it takes that to beat a team like Indiana.
And they will get, so you beat Indiana, but for those wondering, Alabama, Maryland play at 5 o'clock today. That game will be on ESPN2 if you want to do a little pregame scouting. Alabama, according to ESPN Bet, favored by 1.5. But now you got to get prepared to go to Birmingham to play the winner of that game.
Yes, and she said the old coaching adage: you do it right, you do it light. You do it wrong, you do it all day long. And that's what she.
Oh wow, I've never heard that. I've never heard that.
Oh
one.
yeah,
Okay.
that's an old school football one. Do it right, you do it light. Do it wrong, we'll be here all night long.
Oh boy. Okay.
So it sounds like that's the adage she applies to the team. Like if y'all locked in, we can get out. If not, we're gonna do a little bit more film sessions and things of that nature. But yeah, Indiana was pretty impressive yesterday. They played a very strong game. They just lost. They weren't as good as this particular team, but Indiana. That game, I don't know what's going to happen with the winner of Alabama or Maryland, but that game yesterday and the way Indiana played, it felt more like a Sweet 16 game than a 32 than a 32
Around
game.
the 32.
Yeah, it did. Just the way they played, the way they fought, the way they continued to fight and answered the bell on a lot of occasions. They really, if you look at the box score, the third quarter is what got Indiana.
Right.
They kind of came back and tied them up in the fourth quarter. They got blitzed by the defense early, but that game felt more like a Sweet 16. That being said, on to the next one.
Let's look big picture here for a second because I want to ask you a question.
All right.
The term generational.
Okay.
ESPN, because I feel like this is where we're heading right now. Who knows? But ESPN says generational bets powers UCLA with 30-14 Do we toss around the word generational too often? Are we heading in that direction? Like it's become the cool thing to say for all the kids now.
Very similar to how we say elite,
Okay.
right? If everybody's elite, nobody's elite. So yes, maybe there's be something to that. I'll give them a pass because UCLA has not been very good at basketball, and this woman has come along and led them to a new echelon as far as basketball. So for them, maybe she's on the verge of being a generational talent, but they haven't won anything. They haven't done anything. And so it's probably slow down a little bit, but I see where they're coming from.
Well, here's why I bring it. Here's why I say it is because I feel like we, South Carolina, gets to understand generational. We've seen Aaliyah Boston. We've seen Asia Wilson. We've seen other really good players. Malaysia Fulwiley, not the best player probably on this team, but I saw Steph Curry arriving to a game over the weekend wearing a Malaysia Fulwiley shirt because of, I think, their connection. I think it's the shoe connection, if I'm thinking correctly on that.
That is crazy. The idea that one of the greatest players of all time is wearing your shirt.
Right.
What in the world is that? That is amazing. But yes, you talk about, yes, we're familiar with the concept of generational. I would say UCLA pumped the brakes a little bit.
So you've got that plenty of women's basketball on today to check out, as I just mentioned there. Alabama and Maryland will play later on today. The winner of that will advance on to play South Carolina and Birmingham, Alabama next week. So we'll get to the bottom of who the Gamecocks will play later on today as the women's tournament rolls on. We'll come back.
Speaking of generational, a generational talent.
Both on the grill and off the grill.
A generational legacy, correct.
A man who was fantastic in all kinds of ways. We'll talk about that. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
Jen, you can bring us in with that. With the
Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. All right, you've heard me for most of the month of March. I know we got just a few days left, but I have deemed March National Spring Cleaning Month. That's right. It is time to get the home ready for the summer. And with Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning, it is time for you to call them and take advantage of their spring sale. Right now, mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $119 plus a free hallway. You heard that right. Mention me, Bill Gunner, 107.5 The Game, and get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $119 plus a free hallway. Again, that phone number, 803-262-4020, or you can schedule your cleaning online, ZerorezColumbia.com. That's right. With their ZR Water technology, guaranteed to leave your carpets, your rugs, your tile, your upholstery all insanely clean. Call Zerorez today, 803-262-4020, and tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Potato wedges.
Uh-huh.
Steak.
Sure.
Paninis.
Easy.
Salmon.
My speciality.
Vegetables.
Naturally.
From frozen.
You bet.
Enjoy wider variety and reduce the fat with a lean, mean, fat-reducing grilling machine from George Foreman.
Great tasting, healthier food in minutes.
We talk about generational talents, generational runs. First and foremost, rest in peace to George Foreman, passed away over the weekend. Legend, on and off the courts, fields, rings. But let's talk about this. We want to talk about legendary generational runs from appliances. I am of the generation that the Foreman grill is mine. There's an earlier previous generation where like maybe the microwave was like the big thing that came into your life, right? Or maybe the pressure cooker was like the huge thing that happened at a given time. I am of the Foreman generation. The Foreman grill gave me sustenance during my college years. Before there was a training table, before they had nutritionists, before they had all those things over there was a Foreman grill and a pack of frozen patties from Walmart.
Okay.
Or
patties. So you went. So you saying this has now actually got me thinking because you're exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Where I lived, the guys I lived with, that little Foreman grill, and I've never given it maybe proper acknowledgement.
It saved you.
But mine was chicken tenders, little the frozen chicken tenders.
Correct.
And you'd put them on there and then grill them up a little bit.
You can hear that sound.
Yep. Grill them up a little bit and then put them in. I put them in a little baggie with Italian dressing and shake them up real good and have myself Italian. And I've never thought of it the way you're describing it.
The Foreman grill was the main appliance. Yes, the microwave was there. Yes, there was other things. And now I believe we're in the air fryer generation.
I think you're right.
So
yes.
with the air fryer is having its moment right now. But from probably 99 to maybe 08, the Foreman grill reigned supreme. And so I want to know, 803-404-6100, what was your choice of either meats or methods used for the Foreman grill? We're just gonna have a moment to remember because it disappeared. Also, I don't know if I don't know what happened.
You got a point,
but it just went away.
Did we grow up? Is that what it was? This is a great question actually because now as you're mentioning it. So number one, meats, chicken tender I just mentioned, and hot dogs. Those are the two things. The Foreman grill was perfect. It had the way it was. The way it was built.
Aerodynamically designed so that the grease could slide down. And then when they came out with the grease trap at the bottom, oh, man. But here's the thing. You knew on your Foreman grill, you got to clean it while it's hot.
Yeah. Because otherwise, boy.
It's rough. It's rough. If you don't clean it, but it can't be too hot because then you burn yourself. But you got to clean it while it's hot because if you don't, all that stuff is going to stay caked up on there and it's going to be.
Best thing is just like spraying a little water on it, to do that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. We had the little like fork kind of. It was the three-pronged fork.
Yeah, the little plastic fork.
Yeah, the little fork that cleaned it. The Foreman grill, boy, was not prepared to go down memory lane quite like that this morning.
This is a moment. This was a moment in American life, world life, obviously, because he sold so many of them. But again, appliances have their moments. I just happened to grow up in a time where I was first starting to fend for myself, first trying to figure out food situations, and the Foreman grill was the number one appliance in my life.
You got me going down the path. The Foreman grill and the sandwich press for grilled cheese.
But see, here's the thing.
Those are the two things I grew up with.
Here's the thing, though.
I know where you're going.
You can use the Foreman grill to make the paninis.
But y'all know what I'm talking about with the sandwich, just the sandwich press. But I agree with you. But those are the two things that I think got me through about 16 years of age to about 26 years of age. So now, which I laugh because you said 99 to 2008, and I was doing the math in my head, and I was like, that's about right.
That's just when I estimated.
And then at 27, I kind of kicked into, I'm an adult now.
Yeah,
I got to use the actual grill and the stove. And
I mean, they had the indoor grill. They had the outdoor Foreman grill for a minute. They had the big ones that you could use. They had the slanted ones. They had multiple ideas. So 803-404-6100 in honor We'll talk about his in-ring legacy a little bit later. But right now, the Foreman Grill, your meat, your method, how'd you do with it?
So Texter weighs in, says we used it as a poor boy panini press.
I like it.
I think the reason the Foreman is kind of gone away is because of the griddle options coming out today. The griddle got bigger and moved outside as a family barbecue.
Blackstone, I say I can see that. I can see that.
KT from Lexington goes with frozen shrimp with a little butter was my go-to.
Okay, all right. Get a little frozen shrimp on there, press them up real quick. I can see that working.
Another text weighs in cubed steak or burger patties. That's actually our good buddy. That's our rugby aficionado, Nick, weighing in.
Shout out to Nick. I was on the burger patty wave.
By the way, Nick, I was actually talking about you this weekend. Ran into some people from South Africa, was asking about their love for rugby. So I actually was talking about Nick this weekend. So, yes, another text weighs in, best thing on a Foreman is a good old cheeseburger. I grew up with that George Foreman.
It's tough on the cheeseburger. So you got to figure out, like, you're going to do the grill, then you got to, are we going to get the cheese to stick? Because then it gets hard. But, yes, the Foreman, as I agree, Foreman did raise a generation.
Jen, did you Foreman's? So you had one in your what I don't know where you lived.
East Quad.
Mm-hmm. Y'all had one in there. That was the other thing about the Foreman. Yeah, it fit right in on the counter.
Perfect.
It was. Did y'all have one in the dorm? I feel like you lived more of a dorm life.
I lived a dorm life. Yep.
You had. I lived in a house.
It's a mix. It was obviously we had like the little. It was the new dorm at the time. We had a kitchenette type of deal. So yes, Foreman was workable.
But I feel like
so you could do that kind of stuff in the grill. Yeah.
I feel like you lived in probably a legitimate dorm room where there was
legitimate dorm room with the bolster and everything, where you could have your supply of adult beverages hidden so nobody could see it. You know, because that was like it was a couch, or you pulled out the bed and that was your bed. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like it's perfect for those. And again, like I said, the microwave had its moment. But the Foreman Grill, we will never forget what you did for us.
Stuff.
Jacob in Lexington goes, I ate anything my wife cooked. I know we had a Foreman Grill, but didn't know what she used it for. There you go.
Even Jake, you could even use the Foreman Grill again. Easy to use. It's perfect. A perfect piece of technology.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Generational.
I feel like I'm going to Walmart today to buy one.
Generational run for the Foreman Grill.
Jamie Bradford due up next. Hour 2 on the way. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. All right, here we are. We are almost towards the end of March. And my question to you is, have you been paying attention to the interest rates? All those big things that are important when you go to purchase a home. Well, guess what? The first phone call you got to make is to the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank, to see what that interest rate is, what your down payment is going to be, what your monthly mortgage payments are going to be. That is the important part. Finding the house is the easy part, if you're honest. Finding the right interest rate and the right mortgage guru is difficult. But with Jacob Crowder, he will take care of you. So give him a phone call today. Line up an appointment. Schedule an appointment. You can email him the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER, at firstpalmetto.com. That's how you can get in touch with him, or you can give him a phone call, 803-719-1005. Call Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru, today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
Looks like we don't really have any accidents out there, and certainly not complaining by any means. But looks like things are moving along about as well as they can on your Monday morning. Some scattered showers rolling in a little bit later this morning and should be wrapping up sometime after lunch. 71, that's going to be our high. 78 tomorrow under sunny skies. The sun continues through Thursday. Like I said, 78 tomorrow, 75 on Wednesday, 71 on Thursday, but 55 right now on 107.5 The Game.
Seven a.m. on a Monday morning, March the 24th, where you've got two options, Preston Thorne. Sweep or sweet.
I like it. I like it.
Well, we can sweep the NCAA tournament, you know. I mean,
There you go.
that's kind of where I'm thinking.
I like it.
We are two down for it. As Bruce Pearl said, just six victories. He left out consecutive, but 6 quick consecutive victories. And how is your bracket doing this morning? Is it really? Real quick, I looked at mine, Preston.
How you doing?
I'm fairly pleased.
Yeah?
This might be my greatest year ever with bracket.
Really?
I've got to go back and analyze a little bit here. But I've got to go back and break this down just a tad. But I'm thinking this is the greatest I've ever done with my bracket.
And it should let you know that you just did it a one-off, right? You didn't go through and you just filled it out. You went on based on what you knew. You used your intuition, your gut, and you got through with it.
Let's bring in Jamie Bradford. Mr. Jamie Bradford, it's on Monday morning. How is your bracket holding up?
I am at 99.5%. I missed 2 teams in the Sweet 16. I got every other one.
Dude.
That's amazing. Like I said, I was talking earlier. My cousin's at 94%. So I understand that it is possible.
Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Who'd you miss?
I missed one entire matchup. I had Missouri and St. John's in the Sweet 16, and it's Texas Tech and Arkansas.
See, I have Texas Tech. I've got Texas Tech in there. I had Drake beating Missouri. This is really the first time I've looked back since Thursday when Preston and I did this. Preston, you and I, we had McNeese.
Definitely had that one.
We had that one on our live stream. Our good buddy in there called us out, tried to say that we were homers. No, we were just making good picks.
I wasn't being a homer. I was being a hater. There's a distinct difference there.
There you go.
That's a good point.
Fun weekend of basketball. We'll get to the baseball here in a second. But let's talk a little bit about the NCAA. We haven't talked much about it, Preston. What did y'all take away? Jamie, I'll start with you. What did y'all take away from the opening weekend of the NCAA basketball tournament?
That the transfer portal has changed it a little bit, I think. Obviously it was fairly chalky. I mean, obviously not 100%, but it does certainly look like in years past where you had some of the magic, right? And well, why did you have that magic? You had it because these mid-majors were a bunch of old, experienced groups who've been around for 3 or 4 years, and I just don't see as much of that anymore, which kind of stinks. A lot of those guys have, they go in the portal, they move on, and then these other teams that make the tournament, I mean, they win their conference tournament or whatever to get there, but they're just not it's not the nucleus of like 3 and 4 year veterans that they had before. So, yeah, I mean, it's been an okay tournament. I mean, Maryland last night was that the buzzer beater was, I mean, that's what you look for in March Madness, and we just haven't had a ton of that. So that was pretty neat to see. But overall, I think it's kind of been, I don't know, so-so. Is that a fair term? So-so, I guess.
Preston? Yeah, I'm with you. I know where you're going with that, Preston.
I guess it depends on what you're looking for. There hasn't been a wealth of upsets. So as you said, chalky is a great word to describe what the brackets look like. Buzzer beaters haven't been there. So if you look, except for just over the last night, I guess. That being said, I do believe the quality of basketball is pretty high. In watching and actually watching the games, even though there hasn't been the crazy upsets or things like that, it does feel like they're playing a very high level of basketball. So I guess it depends on why you're tuning in. To me, it's been better than good. I guess it's been, I'd say a B as far as for me watching the tournament games.
Well, I think you're dead on about that. The basketball has been good from the good basketball teams. But I think one of the draws about the NCAA tournament is how unpredictable it is. And
correct.
That's why there's so many people that watch this thing and they make $1 billion a year on it, is because it is so unpredictable, and people that have really zero interest in basketball enjoy filling out a bracket, and they enjoy the rush of, oh man, could a 14 upset a 3 and this and like this year that's virtually been non-existent. I mean, you had McNeese that beat Clemson. And you had Drake that beat Missouri. And those are 12-5, 11-6 matchups. What am I missing? Besides, I guess Colorado State, right?
Yeah.
So what else was like a major shocker? So like for the fringe basketball fan, the unpredictability of the tournament, what has happened that you would say would have been unpredictable?
No, I'm with you on that, and
that's just my angle on it. I'm not disagreeing with anybody. I'm just saying that's my angle on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw a lot of people complaining. I think maybe rightfully so, maybe not, that the first round was one of the worst first rounds, Thursday, Friday, one of the worst first rounds that they had ever seen because of the lack of excitement, the lack of energy is a different word, but memorable moments, last-second buzzer beaters. I don't know, because of the transfer portal. Jamie, bring something up that's interesting. At least for me, following college basketball, loving college basketball, if the true upset is still there. Like, there's a lot of things that happen because of players moving around and the ability to change your team so dramatically, and also the experience of some teams. If the true upset is still there, but it really was. I thought it a fairly good opening weekend, one that I was more than content with to hang out and watch down in your area down there in Charleston, as I stayed on Isle of Palms all the weekend.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate the phone call. My cousin lives right across the street from the dinghy, but it's all good, man.
Yeah, no, I totally forgot.
Yeah, I know. I figured that out. But I'll tell you, actually a very underrated game that's probably not getting a lot of run was the Robert Morris Alabama game. Like, if you didn't see the game and you look and you see a 9-point spread and you're like, oh, okay, they kind of hung in there. Well, they more than hung in there. Like, that was watching that Dickerson kid in that game was like, that's the NCAA tournament, right? And so I was sitting here thinking, man, this would be the story. And, of course, Alabama scores 90 points a game anyways, so you knew they were going to have to get – Robert Morris was going to have to stay on a heater, and they just weren't able to do it. But I think, like, that was one of the more – that's a game that I don't believe, or at least I haven't seen, has been talked about a bunch, but that was one of the more, if not the most exciting game, maybe until that Maryland game last night.
You got a particular game that stood out?
Yeah, it was watching the Arkansas St. John's game.
That was okay.
It was a very, very solid game, and maybe it was just nostalgia washing over me, watching those two old stalwarts on the sideline. But it was actually a really, it was a tough, physical, physical game, and maybe it's just like warm the nostalgia in me, I think. But I did enjoy watching that game yesterday, I believe, whenever the game was played.
And BYU Wisconsin was a really good game too. I admitted that.
Well, what I was going to say was watching Rick Pitino and John Calipari shake hands. I'll put this on Twitter. It was like watching two New York mob bosses meet to make sure they had an agreement on no more arguments or violence for a while. That was a wild game to watch. Florida Connecticut yesterday was also really good. Preston, we talked about that game in terms of I think you took Oklahoma, if I'm thinking correctly, in our bracket thing. You wanted, but I said Connecticut would go down there, and I know Dan Hurley said they went out and he felt very good with what his team did. But that was a really good game yesterday.
Oh, poor Dan Hurley had to lose. Oh man, what a shame.
Jamie, real quick, where do you stand on Dan Hurley? We did this last week, end of the week. Are you okay with Dan Hurley, or is he annoying?
I mean, he's a little much for me. If he's on your side, I guess you love him, but I mean, I don't. I mean, he's not my cup of tea. Put it that way, but he wins.
I think that's a fair assessment.
He wins. All right. Yeah. Oh,
except he didn't win.
That's the name of the game. Well, he lost to the team that might win the national championship. But that goes back to my point. I know we got to get a break, but like I think the most common response to this tournament is going to be the lack of unpredictability. I mean, look at the Sweet 16. I mean, with the exception of a couple of teams, it's everybody you thought would be there. So, but I do think now though. Now that all the top teams have advanced, most all the top teams have advanced, I think you're going to see some outstanding basketball when this thing gets going on Thursday.
Well, we'll continue talking about that. We'll get into a little bit of baseball. Get Jamie's breakdown on a tough weekend for the Gamecocks when we come back. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
All right, y'all, the big March tournament is here, and they're going into the teams are getting less and less. So why don't you have yourself set up to watch these great games outside? If you don't have yourself set up, you can still call the folks at Integrated Media to get everything that you need to get a great experience in watching all of these tournament games. Also, there's a huge golf tournament coming up, I hear. So why don't you call the folks at Integrated Media? You can get a Samsung Terrace TV that's waterproof so you can sit outside and watch these good sporting events. Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. My personal favorite, being able to control all your devices from just one remote. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
We do have one accident that has been reported, Pleasant View Drive at South Lake Drive. And, yeah, we are going to see a little bit of rain today. Just some scattered showers starting sometime mid-morning. Should be wrapping up sometime after lunch. 71 ultimate high today, 78 tomorrow. Then we stay low to mid-70s through Thursday before we get close to 80 on Friday and possibly into the 80s on Saturday, at least low 80s. But right now, it's kind of a nice start to your day. 55 at 107.5 The Game.
I think the other teams are really good. I don't know what else to say, Jack. The other teams are really good, and they've outplayed us in these games, So I haven't really thought about what our record is against, any other teams. Just, we do the best we can every day.
Those are the words of head baseball coach Paul Mainieri as he comes off a sweep at the hands of Arkansas this weekend, a series that, Jamie, not really close, not really competitive. A lot there to unpack from the weekend, and we'll get to that in just a second. I want to remind y'all, we got a lot going on this week, obviously. Baseball tomorrow night, we'll have it for you. Pre-game, 6:45 right here, 107.5 The Game, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, 7 o'clock first pitch. But, Jamie, this past weekend, this is the way of the conference. You can't feel bad for yourself.
No, you can't. Yeah, Arkansas, I think they've scored over 10 runs in 5 straight games, and obviously the last 3 have been against Gamecocks, so clearly they're right in the middle of that. Yeah, that was what you call a whipping this weekend. Arkansas is really good. They're a little bit of they're a different Arkansas team than years past. They still play defense exceptionally well. But, Arkansas's main problem, you think about all the tradition and history that's there, of course, they haven't won a national championship, which is hard to believe, but their main issue over the last few years is they haven't been able to hit in this league. Well, Dave Van Horn had enough of that. He went to the transfer portal, and he found some dudes that just mash. I mean, they take violent cuts. And obviously they did that this weekend. I thought yesterday, if Carolina was, when they tied it up, you had a couple of veterans, couple of guys who often get forgotten about, and Evan Stone and Will Tippett come through to tie this thing, and you got the lead runner on second, and nobody out, and then you pop up a bunt, and you pop it up twice after that. But I thought when it was 4-4, man, if they can squeak out of there and salvage this thing, that'll be a big deal, because I doubt Arkansas is going to lose any series this year at home. I mean, they're really, really good. And of course the wheels fell off, but so they got to get back on the saddle and go beat North Carolina. They've had a lot of success in doing that up in Charlotte, and we'll see who pitches tomorrow night now that Jarvis Evans had to start yesterday. I mean, if there's anything at all that's indicative of just some of the luck that this team has had this year, it's why Dylan Eskew didn't start in the game yesterday. I mean, you just don't hear things like that. And then it's happened to happen one time that I can ever remember in my entire life, and it happened to us on the road at Arkansas. So they got to get back on the saddle tomorrow and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a tough spot, man. I don't the precision that it takes for the ball to actually go into the bullpen and then hit you. Out of all the things that have happened in the bullpen, I suggested to Bill that maybe they should have just packed it up then, because that's almost impossible for it to happen.
Preston, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how many bullpens have I been in? how many times have I been walking in the outfield while the other guy's hitting BP? I've never seen anybody get hit. They put screens up at third and at first, and you're able to do work in the pregame while you're hitting BP. Guys are out there doing things. You have lookouts. You know, that's the other thing is somebody in that dugout should have been paying attention, saying, hey, we got a ball coming in here. So sure, somebody got chewed out for that. But, I mean, you know, you're like, hey, man, I'm starting tomorrow. I'm going to get this thing back on track. Whack. No, you're not.
Yeah, just way down on the list of things that you would be worried about going to a ballpark on a Saturday. So
yeah,
that's freak accident to say the least.
So
it's just unbelievable.
You know, Jamie, what I've said now is that, okay, well, Arkansas were good. That's a shame. But you got clobbered. Well, guess what? The team you got coming up next, and I don't mean North Carolina, Tennessee, the next series you got probably even more difficult.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you get them at home. I can tell you this: the people that have given up on the baseball season, there will be a bunch of orange that take their seats this weekend. That's going to be pretty depressing when you see it on TV. But I think the main takeaway for the fans is going to be not necessarily how good Arkansas is. I think everybody understood that. It's going to be how far behind are we, and that's obviously a very fair question. You know, and clearly this team has certainly dealt with some injury issues this year. They've got talent, and I knew they had talent coming into the year, but you know, some of the guys they brought in to perform needed to perform, and the injury bug has bit a couple, and then you've had some guys just not perform, and that's been pretty disheartening. You know, I really personally thought that the starting pitching would be much better than it's been. You know, if you don't have starting pitching, you don't have anything. I mean, you have to go out and score 10 runs a game, and this team isn't going to average 10 runs a game. So I don't know, you know, how they'll shift strategies on that. I know Coach Veneri is just as outstanding of a baseball coach as we've ever seen in college baseball, and he's very smart. He's very calculated, and I know he's also, you know, he's got a bunch of, you know, he's tradition. He's got old school in him. So you like to have that you know, you like to have a 3-man rotation set going into each weekend. I mean, that's ideal. This is our rotation. But at the same time, you know, if it creates the issues that it's creating where you're behind the 8 ball all 3 games, you know, you might have to go to something that you generally don't want to do, which is TBA. You know, we might have to use this guy on Friday night, and if we do, then that's going to scratch him from Sunday's start, and we're going to have to figure out something else there. I mean, you know, it doesn't mean that you can't have in mind what your 3-game, you know, your rotation will be going into the weekend. But also, if you have a chance to win on Friday night and the guy that's scheduled to pitch on Saturday or Sunday is your best option to help secure it, maybe you just go ahead and go win the game and worry about tomorrow. So that's just I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm not trying to, like, you know, give any guidance to this staff that's forgotten more baseball than I'll ever know. I'm just thinking of options to be able to try to continue to grind your way through the season and ultimately into the postseason.
Well, I asked Preston this in the opening hour. I think it was in the second segment, but you just mentioned the keyword postseason. What do our expectations do now that we've watched this team perform against Clemson, Oklahoma, and now Arkansas?
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody has every right for them to be lowered, but I mean, at the same time, they shouldn't be, because this league, every single game that you play in is an opportunity. And so while they do sit at 1-5, you know, if you let's say next weekend they scratch one out against Tennessee, just play it out here. You know, they scratch one out against Tennessee, okay, and then they're sitting there at 2-7, and then they got to go to Mississippi State, and you know, Mississippi State is up and down and up and down. You just don't know what you're going to get out of them, and all of a sudden they come out of there and they're 4-8, and then they go to A&M. Well, A&M hadn't won a game in the league. All right, I mean this was the number 1 team in the country, guys, and they're not playing well. You know, all of a sudden, I mean, you're talking about 13 wins gets you into the postseason, right? So, you know, now you start playing the numbers game. I mean, look at the Florida Gators. Florida's 0-6 in the SEC. Do y'all realize that? They're 0-6. You know, the back half seemingly, you opens it up a little bit. Ole Miss comes to town. You got to go to Lexington. You got Auburn, and then, of course, you finish the year against LSU. None of it's going to be easy. It's all going to be incredibly difficult, and it doesn't mean that none of these teams can't turn on the jets before you get to them. That also doesn't mean that you can't. So, I mean, you got a couple of freshmen now who are well entrenched. I mean, Bo Holland's hitting a home run yesterday. That's a big deal. If your freshmen are hitting 4 and 5 in your lineup, guys, like, that's scary, but also that does generally mean that they're going to continue to get better and better and better. So, if those guys click in the middle of the order, it becomes a little bit more dangerous. You got a different product you're putting on the field. I mean, they got issues at shortstop. Henry Gasmar's got to figure it out. I mean, he's really struggled. So, I mean, I wouldn't give up on this group by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it certainly is difficult to look at the series they've played in and have some big magical outlook for how everything's going to finish. I can understand that, but I certainly wouldn't give up on them.
We'll come back. We'll move, Preston, from sweep to sweet. Am I doing it right?
Correct.
Close enough?
Getting there.
We're getting there. I'm getting there. I'm developing it. Yeah, we'll get more into that. We'll talk with Jamie Bradford, women's basketball team, to the Sweet 16. We'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's a Monday morning. It means Jamie Bradford is with us. It is the early game.
Press here for the folks at Ben's Power Cato's Equipment. Look, they've been open since 1983. That's over 40 years. And they've been here to help you with all types of service equipment that you need. So what do you need? Do you need power equipment? Do you need lawn equipment? Do you need things for your lawn? The folks at Ben's Cato's Power Equipment can help you. And they are proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So are you ready to invest in something new? Their friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with service and parts. The crew might be young, but they have over 125 years of know-how in outdoor power equipment. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today, and they'll help you power up your next project. Call them at 803-254-3711. That's 803-254-3711.
Highway 1 at Ermine Road, we have a report of an accident there. Also, Pleasant View Drive at South Lake Drive. 71 with some scattered showers today. Those scattered showers kind of midday through maybe lunchtime and should be clearing out maybe around 2 o'clock. Just kind of scattered throughout the Midlands. 71 for the high. Sunny tomorrow and Wednesday, 78 and 75. So not too bad. And starting off the morning, definitely better than it has been. It's already up to 57 on 107.5 The Game.
.34 on your Monday morning, March the 24th. We'll wrap up the month of March here this week. Got our 107.5 The Game golf tournament coming up on Friday. You can still get registered now. Call Charwood today and book your foursome. It'll be this coming Friday, March the 28th, out at Charwood, 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000. Come on out. We'll be partnering up with the Lexington County Gamecock Club, so it should be a lot of fun. Look forward to seeing you out there. That'll be this Friday. And go ahead, call Charwood today. $400 per team. 803-755-2000. That's how you can call out and get your team booked for our annual Spring Golf Classic that we look forward to being a part of this coming Friday. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jamie Bradford, Miss Jen Jensen, as we roll along on a Monday morning. And all right, so that was the downside of the weekend. Preston, Jamie, upside, Dawn Staley's team, 11th consecutive Sweet 16. Preston, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, 11, a decade, over a decade. That's dominance that obviously we've never seen here, and you don't see in many places around the country. And what was interesting to me about that particular game is that as I was watching it, yes, Indiana put up a very solid fight. Jamie, as I told everybody last hour, I was very impressed with Indiana, the way they played. I thought they played a very tough, physical, executed their game plan well. But honestly, there was never a doubt in my mind that how that game was going to turn out. And I think that's the benefit of the doubt that Dawn Staley and her crew have earned from us, the fans.
Well, there's no question about that. And I'm glad you said it that way because you're right. If you didn't watch the game and you see the score, most people will wonder, what happened? South Carolina didn't play very well. And in years past, they have had games where they didn't play very well. And it was like, well, they just won because they have more talent, not necessarily because they played better. I thought Indiana played as well as they possibly could on both ends of the floor. And clearly South Carolina, their defense, they only allowed 53 points in the game. So South Carolina's defense, when they turn it on, it's tough to beat, right? But I give Indiana a ton of credit coming onto the home floor of the top-seeded Gamecocks in a place that, 17,900 of them were pulling for South Carolina, and the other 100 in the postseason were pulling for the Hoosiers. But, the bigger picture here, there's two things. One, South Carolina found a way to win in the second half, and they're going to have another couple of games where they're going to have to just find ways to win. And they were prepared for that because of the schedule that they play. But then you mentioned that 11th straight Sweet 16. Well, that right there, and in the middle of that 11 are all the national championships and the Final Four runs, and they're set to try to do that again. I don't think there's much of a question as to who the top program in the country is. It is the Gamecocks. The question is, how far behind is number two? And when you start rattling off the whole list of achievements that they have had under Dawn Staley in the last decade plus, it's pretty significant, and it really kind of does go to show you that there's a larger gap probably than some want to admit between the Gamecocks and whoever you would throw in there as the second best program in women's college basketball.
To me, and we talk about this, trying to live in the moment. And I think, Preston, what you were saying earlier, that's hard to do at times.
It's impossible. It's really very difficult, especially when you're having this type of success, because you don't get success by saying, "Oh man, this is nice." The way you get success is by moving on to the next thing and trying to get bigger, better, faster, and stronger. So it's very difficult to live in that success while you're having it.
Well, and Preston, you're talking about every single year. Well, they're always going to return players. There's no question about that. But you're returning players who take on new roles. You're adding players out of the portal. You're bringing in freshmen. And Dawn Staley finds a way to get all of them to not only understand the expectations, but to be able to embrace them and play within them. And sometimes, you can recruit all the superstars you want, but a lot of them, they get into programs, they get into big-time programs with big-time expectations and a lot of pressure, and it's just they don't perform. That is not the case in South Carolina. I mean, she is magical as any coach out there, much like Gino was for years and years and years at UConn, at getting players to embrace being in that role and being able to be successful in it. I mean, you're not always going to be 100% successful. That's just life. That's sports. But overall, look what, Chloe Kitts was basically shut down yesterday in the first half, right? And the second half, she scores 10 points. I mean, it was like, hey, look, you've carried us here the last couple of weeks. It's time to turn it up a notch. The other thing, too, this team didn't play basketball for 12 days until the NCAA tournament. That's a long time to be sitting around. 12 days before they actually played. But they're moving on to the Sweet 16, and they'll only continue to get better, in my opinion.
Well, you brought up Chloe Kitts, and I thought, to me, the most interesting moment of the game was when Chloe hits that three-pointer. Obviously, she throws up the threes, and then you see all the women on the sideline celebrating her success. And, I mean, that doesn't happen all the time, especially with all of them who could be starting, being the showcase of maybe almost every other offense in the country. But you have Tessa, Malaysia, who are on the bench, and they're just as happy when one of their teammates is successful as they are when they're successful. And that's not something that just happens by accident. That's culture, right?
Dude, I was talking to Brad Muller about that last week. I was like, I just continue to be baffled at how she brings in these players every year and literally stares them in the face and says, well, I know that you're the best player in the country, but you're not going to start here. You're going to have to earn that. And, and they're like, sounds good. And then they get in there when they get in and they earn their time. And the more successful they are, the more time they get. And, Brad mentioned, the thing with Chloe was never about ability. Everybody knew how good she was, but it was, about her understanding how good she is. Mm-hmm. And the light came on, and obviously she's playing incredibly well. This is going to be fun to watch. We talked about the men's earlier. The women's. I think I wish UConn and Southern Cal weren't in the same side of the bracket, because I think the best Final Four would be Southern Cal, South Carolina, UCLA, and UConn. I think that'd be good for the sport. But Texas and South Carolina and Southern Cal and UCLA would also be pretty good too. Let's pull for an all USC national championship. That would get some people talking.
Definitely. I think that's who we mentioned at the beginning, maybe the end of last year, the beginning of the year. I can't remember. I was like, well, we've taken down Iowa, we've taken down LSU, we've taken down Connecticut. Southern Cal is the next challenger, right? So we'll see. Although right now I'd kind of lean toward it might be UCLA a little bit more with what they've got. We'll talk more about it. We'll wrap up hour number 2 when we return. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, and it's Monday. Jamie Bradford joining us. It is the early game. Did you know it is National Spring Cleaning Month? You probably didn't because I'm making that up as we go along. But really, truly, it could be. March seems like a good month to have National Spring Cleaning Month. And with Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning and their patented ZR water that's going to keep your carpets, your rugs, your tile, your upholstery all insanely clean, now is the time to contact them and take advantage of their spring sale. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $119 plus a free hallway when you give them a phone call and you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game. That phone number, 803-262-4020. We'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned plus a free hallway for just $119. 803-262-4020 or schedule online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Again, that's ZerorezColumbia.com. Give them a phone call or make an appointment today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
from the out of bounds to the freshman Queen, who's driving, floats it. Oh! Maryland on the right side of a buzzer beater with life into the Sweet 16.
The call last night from Maryland knocking off Colorado State. There is advancing in the NCAA basketball tournament. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jamie Bradford, Jen Jensen, as we get you up and get you going on a Monday morning. All right. What do we take away? Did the SEC succeed? Jamie? 7 teams, 7 out of the 14 get to the Sweet 16. Is the SEC legit? Did they answer the bell this weekend?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's how many I had going. I had 7 out of the 16 advancing. It's damn near half the field from one league. So there's no question. They absolutely did.
Preston, did the SEC answer the bell this weekend?
To be determined.
Oh, see.
To be determined. Let's see if they can finish it. But yeah, all of the teams, I guess on the upper sides. Jamie, to give you a little bit of context, I was of the opinion that no conference deserves that many bids into the tournament. That being said, I do think the top teams have performed and they've done very well.
Yeah, I do too. And I mean, and I understand that argument certainly. I mean, I'm less about which conference they come from and more about let's get the best teams in. I mean, obviously you're going to have the AQs, but let's get the best teams. If they all come from one conference, that's fine. I don't care who it is. But yeah, I thought, and I'm with you on the TBD. I mean, it's kind of a 2-part question. It's like, all right, you got the Sweet 16, and then you have the rest. If all 7 lose in the Sweet 16, then you're having a different conversation, right? But that's impossible because Kentucky and Tennessee play. So somebody's going to advance. But yeah, to your point, if none of them are, if you have, no representatives in the Final Four or in the, in the national championship game, I mean, is that really what we're looking for? Like there has to be an SEC team, national championship, or half of the Final Four, 2 of the 4 teams have to be from the SEC. How do you view it then?
That's a great question because I don't think that now that, and this is actually really the first time I'm thinking through this. I don't know what the threshold is. Maybe it's 8. I don't know if it's 16. Obviously, you had to get through the first weekend, but I hadn't really considered it because I'm not one that thinks, the championship is the ultimate measure of success for a team. You can be very successful up until that point. So I'm going to have to think about that one a little bit longer.
Yeah, of the number 1 seeds, and we'll see clearly, of the number 1 seeds, I was the weariest on Auburn coming into this tournament. Like I thought, I don't know, man. I don't know. They had lost 3 of 4. I've got Michigan beating them in the Sweet 16 for what it's worth.
Okay.
So I think I've got Michigan and Michigan State. Can you believe that? Michigan State playing in the Elite 8 with an opportunity to go to the Final Four on the line. But I've got Auburn losing in the Sweet 16. I just didn't love the way they were playing basketball coming into the dance, man. So, and they're number 1 overall seed. But I think any of the teams left can get to the Final Four. I mean, I would say the one that I would probably put the lowest percentage on would be Arkansas, but I don't know. Who knows anymore?
All right. Got about 2 minutes, 3 minutes left in this segment. You guys ready to really get sporty sports talk?
Yeah.
Did North Carolina deserve their bid now? Jamie, I'll start with you.
I didn't hear you. Say it again.
Did North Carolina deserve their bid now? Come on, Jamie. This is a sporty sports talk show here. Let's yell and scream. Did the Tar Heels deserve to get in?
No. They didn't deserve to get in. That was ridiculous. They won 1 quad 1. They were 1-11 versus quad 1. What are we doing? No, they did not.
I will raise you. I will say no, and also to raise the sporty sport level, was it a travel?
Ooh. I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I'm going to go with yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Sporty sport.
We've officially done our sporty sports portion of the show now.
The question is with with the governor of West Virginia suing the NCAA for the Mountaineers not being in the postseason, are they gonna somehow try to tie Bubba Cunningham into this deal? Like there's a bunch of backdoor deals cut for the Tar Heels to get in since he chaired the committee. That's the legal sports talk question. How about that?
Well, legal, yeah. Well, no, where I was going to go with that also though was West Virginia's got to go find a basketball coach now. Remember, they got some other issues they got to deal with.
Let's get real sporty sport. Did Texas find their new basketball coach?
The deal, if you're unaware,
sports.
It does look like they have Sean Miller wrapped up. Are we happy we didn't get him now?
Ooh, we get some more sports.
Yes. That escalated way too quickly. Jamie, just a few minutes left with you, or about a minute and a half left with you. Baseball, it doesn't get easier. North Carolina now tomorrow night, and Tennessee. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish over these next 4 games?
Well, you want to find a way to be 2-2 in the next 4. You want to find a way to be 2-2, and just it's March Madness for baseball right now. It's survive and advance, and they got to figure out what to do with the starting pitching. Is they've got guys, but they got to figure out how to maximize at least 1 or 2 games a weekend where they can go after a win. And I don't know what the answer is to that, but they'll get it figured out. That's for sure. And so that's what I'll be watching. I don't know who they're going to start tomorrow night. Now that Jarvis Evans has already pitched, it'll be interesting to see, since he did get moved up and get the start on Sunday, if he enters the conversation to be in the weekend rotation next weekend when the Vols come to town.
Okay. All right. A lot of good stuff, buddy. Always appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming to Charleston and not calling me. That was awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you missed a good time. You missed a good time.
Later.
Next time we'll do it again. Jamie Bradford, Monday morning. We'll come back. Some Thorns, Buds, and Roses. 1 more hour to go. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here for Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. Cracked windshield? No problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out there and take care of it for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home, you could do that with new windows or mirrors, and Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Ooh, it's gotten busy out there this morning. Please allow a little extra time to get in this morning. White Pond Road at I-20, also Raven at LeGrand, Pleasant View Drive at South Lake Drive, Percival at Morning Glow Lane, Monticello Road at Kaufman Road. We do have a report of an accident there, and Highway 1 at Ermine. So again, do be careful. 57 currently, but 71 is actually where we are looking to land today. Some scattered showers starting mid-morning, taking us through just early afternoon, and then those should clear out. 78 and 75, respectively, Tuesday and Wednesday, sunny both days. But right now, as I mentioned, it's cloudy, and it's 57 on 107.5 The Game.
$8 a.m. on a Monday morning. Hopefully you're up and moving. You got the kids to school. Maybe you're heading to your office. You're going to do some work today, or maybe you're recovering from a weekend of basketball watching. Preston Thorne, it was an entertaining weekend for the women's basketball team. It was sweet. For the baseball team, it was sweep. One letter, oh so close. Oh, so different.
What a big difference a letter can make. It can make a huge difference. Gamecock experience up and down. With that being said, the baseball team did not give you much to cheer for over the weekend as you watched those series, especially Saturday. If you tuned in, if you were even a smidge late, this is 8-0, and at the end of the first, you're like, oh, okay. I'm going to have to make a choice here. Do I want to continue this, or do I want to do something else? So that was difficult. But then obviously the women yesterday had a made it entertaining. Made it entertaining enough, right? They
kept you involved.
Kept you involved. You stayed around, and I said Indiana I thought was very good team. I would have liked that game maybe to have been a little bit deeper in the playoffs, in the tournament. But it was a good game nonetheless. They came out ahead. Everybody stayed healthy. So I would say overall, good weekend.
So that was the sweet part, the basketball team getting to the Sweet 16. We'll know their opponent for next weekend later on today when Alabama and Maryland play each other, and they will get the winner, or South Carolina will get the winner of that game coming up in Birmingham next weekend, and we'll keep you updated on all the thoughts and see what happens there tomorrow with that. Baseball, again, Preston, it was one letter, but boy, it wasn't as close in terms of scoreboard.
Not even 33-9 overall. If you was to take the whole series, and again,
and that's with the run ruling on Friday night.
That's what they run rule. And again on Saturday, 8-0 at the end of the first quarter. First period, first inning. There we go. Let's get yourself right.
It's hard to even comprehend all those numbers. You're not even getting the wordage right.
Yeah. 8. You just see an 8 on the scoreboard. You're like, wait, what's happening here? Did they score a touchdown in a 2-point conversion? What's going on? But
it probably would have helped.
Maybe, yeah. I think that's the thing that's disappointing. And as I stated in the 6 o'clock, if you were just a casual and you saw the scores, you're like, oh, this is bad. But I almost feel like if you actually watched, you might feel it was worse. When you watch the game, the way the game's played out, not being able to throw strikes, making errors in the field, all the things that this team is going to have to do, they did not do against Arkansas this weekend.
And we'll let you hear a little bit more from Paul Maneri as it pertains to that. So good, bad, couple other things. Beach volleyball off this weekend. The tennis team, the 18th ranked men's tennis team, fell at Mississippi State 3-4. I'm not real sure how to say this. 3-4, 3-4, 4-3 4-3 was the final. Mississippi State won, but I'm not real sure. But they didn't have their best weekend. But we have talked about tennis and the men's tennis team up to 18th nationally. So good for them this weekend. You had a little golf as well with the girls, the women's golf team. Preston going and participating in a tournament this weekend. They'll get set for the SEC championships now I think 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks, I believe, is the SEC championships. But give love to about everybody to make sure that it was an overall better weekend than it was a bad weekend.
That's true. That's true. It's just the bad thing was really bad.
Let's hear a little bit of that, Jen, if you don't mind. This is clip number 13. Let's hear a little bit from Paul Mainieri yesterday. Gamecocks now 1-8 against ranked opponents. This is Paul Mainieri after the game and what he had to say.
I think the other teams are really good. I don't know what else to say, Jack. The other teams are really good, and they've outplayed us in these games, you know. So I haven't really thought about what our record is against, you know, any other teams. Just, you know, we do the best we can every day.
I assume he's talking to our good buddy, Jack Veltri, who comes in after us, and not just being like, yeah, they're really good, Jack.
I like that even better.
Yeah, I would too.
I like that better. Oh, yeah. He would be in the age range of somebody who would just throw a random Jack at the end of a sentence. I do like that better.
But what he's saying there, look, he's right. He's right. But the problem is that the rest of the games are difficult. You're playing ranked teams.
Well, I think Jamie was hitting on it, and I was trying to get to it, but he said it a little bit better. Is Arkansas that good, or are we this bad? And I don't know if that's two things can be true at once, or if it's more scaled one or other. I guess the season's going to have to let us find out. But those lopsided scores, I would like to know what that's more indicative of, them or us.
I feel like the next 4 games, I feel like when we reconvene next Monday after they play North Carolina tomorrow night, after they play Tennessee at home this weekend, not that we'll have our answer. I think we're starting to get the answer. But it's kind of one of those we've discussed on this radio show at times with football or basketball or whatever. Now baseball, when do you know? When do you know who your team is? We didn't want to believe after the basketball team lost to North Florida, right?
Ospreys.
We didn't want to believe. But we would later find out, yeah, that's who they were. I feel like this next 4 games, you go 0-4, you go 1-3, whatever. You go, yeah, okay, that's just who South Carolina is this year, and I hate to say it, but you'll be 9 games in, 21 more to go from a conference standpoint, but you'll be going, yeah, it's a lost season.
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. If you saw this weekend series and you said that's enough, I guess that's on you, and you're perfectly well within your rights to do that. But I do think it's fair. Let's see how this little run of games plays out here. And you said 0-4, 1-3. Then we might have a clear, distinct answer of who the team is.
On the flip side of that, again, as we said, there was sweetness to the weekend with the women's basketball team, the 11th consecutive Sweet 16 appearance. Jen, let's play Dawn Staley, if you don't mind. This is clip number 1. Dawn Staley yesterday, as she talks about it, and it was a good game. Preston mentioned it, wishing he maybe
just want to say congratulations to Indiana for making it to the second round and giving us a hard-fought game. We knew coming in it would be very similar to the basketball that was displayed out there for the last 2 hours. Proud of our team, the way they gutted up and didn't flinch. It wasn't pretty, but at this time, it doesn't have to be. You just got to score more points than the other team and work the kinks out as we advance into the tournament.
That was Dawn Staley, and yesterday, Bree Hall leading the way, 11 points in 32 minutes. Chloe Kitts, Sanaya Fagan, Preston post players, they combined 20 points, 14 rebounds. Is this team still trying to find their way a little bit without, in my opinion, still find their way without Ashlyn Watkins?
Yeah, and what you figure out from watching that game last night, I think was so difficult to prepare for this team, is that you don't know who's going to step up and be the one that's going to beat you, either offensively or defensively. Obviously, Bree Hall, she plays the 3-and-D, right? She seems to be taking up that role as somebody who can be a lockdown defender and somebody who can hit an open 3 when she's presented the opportunity. And then Te-Hina Paopao stepped up and really, really took the reins as far as was concerned last night.
Speaking of, this is Dawn after the game talking about Te-Hina Paopao being a leader in the huddle.
Well, they just told me, Powell, calm them down, but I'm sure it was amongst 9 to 10 other voices talking. So it's just the daycare. That's what I'm referencing. It's not like, a board meeting where there's one person talking at a time. It is chaos. So I was glad to see they actually stopped to listen to her, because what she says is coming from being an experienced player that's been through this process, and we need her voice.
What do you got?
I haven't heard that analogy, the daycare versus the board meeting. I'm sure she would prefer the board meeting where somebody stands up, speaks their mind, and everybody says, yes, ma'am, and they move forward. But that's not obviously how this team operates. 9
points for Te-Hina Paopao yesterday. 9 points. 4 rebounds, 4 blocks, 2 assists, 1 foul, 1 turnover, 2 steals. She filled up the stat sheet.
Yeah, she stepped up defensively at the point of attack, played a great game, and that was not her strong suit coming into here. And so her being able to step up, and I think this was probably her best game this year for so far.
So that was the South Carolina side of things from the weekend. As we kind of recap everything here, we'll get into some thorns, buds, and roses coming up in the next segment. But also nationally, NCAA basketball tournament takes place. 7 SEC teams get to the Sweet 16, and it feels like you and Jamie were trying to decipher there if that is success or if it's still to be determined.
Successful up to this point.
Okay.
They've gotten enough teams through. They've gotten half of the teams through, preferably most of the top teams. Nobody suffered a
catastrophic
loss. Yeah, no ugly losses, so that's good. I'll take that. They do have to push a couple of teams further in the advanced rounds. If obviously, Jamie said, somebody's going to go because there's 2 teams playing each other. But maybe half of the field's moving forward.
And for us personally, where do we still, let's look here as I do this off the cuff. Where do we stand with our brackets? You got your bracket there?
Yes, let me pull it up.
All right. Mine, Preston, I came out of the weekend. I've got all my Final Four teams still available. Michigan State and Maryland, Alabama and Houston. You've got 3 out of your 4, if I'm reading and remembering correctly, but you've lost one of your championship. Not only have one Final Four team, you lost one of your championship game participants.
Yeah, the Johnnies let me down. It was a big game. I guess I went with the Johnnies over Cal and the boys, and that didn't work. I still have my champion, my overall champion in Alabama left. But we shall see. I don't know.
And it looks like I've got 10 out of my 16 there. It's 10 teams out of the Sweet 16 still in there, so we'll see how it goes. This is where it gets really interesting, going from 16 to 8. Game that you're maybe most intrigued to see this coming weekend? You got one that pops out instantly at you?
No, not particularly. I have to look over them to see, but as of right now, nothing really stands out to me. Do you?
Auburn, Michigan. The one Jamie Bradford said he's got Michigan beating Auburn to get to the Elite Eight. That one's a really, I think it's going to be a really entertaining one.
Shout out to Mike Boynton, assistant coach with Michigan.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. And also, just for the record, even though we talked about it last week, we've moved on from the NIT.
Is that even happening?
Still happening.
Oh, okay. All right.
They didn't call it off. They still got teams into it.
Okay.
So nothing of note, nothing newsworthy to my knowledge from spring practice this week.
Is it happening? Is spring practice?
That's what you want, right? You want to ask. You want to ask. You want it to be quiet, and you want to just go about your business. You want to ask that question, right?
I guess. I mean, but is it happening? Is there any film, video evidence, conversations? Do we know if this is in fact happening, or is this just? I'm just saying. It just feels like there's been zero.
Yeah, I've got to go back and look at the schedule. I got to be honest, which I think is a good thing. I think this is a good thing. I think that's a great thing. I don't think you want news and information coming out. The one newsy piece of information from last week was that Vakari Swain was not out there due to academic issues, and it seemed like not a school issue at all. It was a team, like they were like, hey, you got to get your grades up. I think that happened to me once. Basically, they were like, look, we're stepping in to help you here. We're going to get you right. So South Carolina did land a commitment over the weekend. Preston Thorne, football, big commitment. Zion Giles, a 4-star offensive lineman, commits to the Gamecocks.
Where's he from? Do you have that information? I know he's an in-state kid, I believe. And so, yeah, if they're continuing to rack up dudes on the O-line.
Hemingway, Carvers Bay High School.
Shout out to Hemingway. We was just out there the other day. We went to Rodney Scott's barbecue out in Hemingway. So we definitely took the journey out there. Listen, there's starting to be a trend of them getting these in-state offensive linemen and stockpiling these dudes on the line. Shout out to those coaches. They're doing a good job.
He makes the 4th in-state commitment. They've covered South Point, Carvers Bay, Newberry, and another South Point prospect there in Anthony Baxter. But Anthony Baxter, Jamel House, Zion Giles, and Xavion Currents, the 4 in-state guys now of the 6 commitments. Keenan Britt out of Oxford, Alabama, and Peyton Dyer out of Duluth, Georgia. Gamecocks now with 6 commitments in the 2026 class. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. Do a little thorns, buds, and roses. See what irritated Preston from the weekend and what made him smile. You're listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner for Love's Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Let me tell you what, spring is rolling along, so the spring-tacular deals continue to be in full force over at Love's Chevrolet, where they have exclusive deals taking place right now. You need to get out there. Check out the 14 acres of brand-new Chevys from which you can choose from, and let that incredible sales staff, so knowledgeable, so friendly, so ready to help you, walk you around the lot and find the car, truck, or SUV that you have been looking for. So go visit Love Chevrolet today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you, and check out the $1,000 low price guarantee, which means you can actually shop other dealerships, take their deal back to the folks at Love Chevrolet, and they will top it or write you a check for $1,000. Hasn't happened yet. Won't happen anytime soon. And, of course, again, so many other great deals taking place. So go visit Love Chevrolet. Again, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Get out to Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
Still working earlier tie-ups. Highway 1 at Ermine Road. Also I-20 eastbound just after exit 44. Monticello Road at Kaufman Road. Percival at Morning Glow. Raven Road at LeGrand and White Pond at I-20. Also a report of a tie-up there. As far as your forecast goes, we could see a couple showers scattered about today sometime, 9 or 10 o'clock this morning could be rolling in. And then should be out of here sometime after lunch. So before rush hour this afternoon, should be supposedly out of here. 71 will be our high today, 78 tomorrow, 75 on Wednesday. Sunshine both tomorrow and Wednesday. Right now, 57 on 107.5 The Game.
Reminder, go to our website, 1075thegame.com, and check out the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. If a Gamecock batter hits a Grand Slam, you could win all the cash in the pot right now. $250 there, Preston Thorne. $250. Just go to 1075thegame.com and get registered today. It is the Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union Grand Slam giveaway. Again, all you got to do, go to our website, 1075thegame.com, and register. And if a Gamecock batter hits a Grand Slam tomorrow night against North Carolina, you could win $250. Again, go to 1075thegame.com. What a weekend it was. A really fun, beautiful weekend, sports weekend, golf really kicking into high gear, basketball, obviously, first weekend of the NCAA tournament. And Preston Thorne, you ready with some Thorns, Buds, and Roses?
Let's do it.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the early game, 107.5 The Game.
All right, Bill, Thorns, Buds, and Roses, big weekend, a lot of action going around. And I would say that something can be a thorn, but also make me smile.
Okay.
Dan Hurley is a thorn, and him losing made me smile so much. Not only him losing, but him losing and then crying on the way out. And then him losing and giving a big soliloquy about how his team lost on the way out. I've been on record saying we need more personalities in the coaching profession. Yes, Dan Hurley is a personality. I do not like him. He is very annoying. But he's a solid coach.
Okay.
Great coach, two-time champion. We need more of these guys. And so I'm not opposed to him. I just, however, was very glad to see him and his squad lose. Also very glad to see him cry about it and them have video evidence of him crying about it. In fact, he's been crying for about 2 weeks now since they lost in the championship, in Big East championship, when he said that wasn't good sportsmanship or whatever the case was. Yeah. Dan Hurley, you're a thorn in my side, but I welcome you because you make me smile. Buds. We got two buds here, and it's been the theme of the show. Sweet or sweep? Got to nip this losing streak in the bud, brother. Got swept over the weekend. Biggest game of the year on deck tomorrow, North Carolina. Got to get this thing under control. We are going to figure out some things about this baseball team in this next stretch of games. But on the flip side, sweet. We've planted the seed for the Sweet 16. It's budding at the right moment. The women's basketball team is playing very well. So they've had 11 straight Sweet 16 appearances, but that's not good enough. Nobody's going to be happy with that, and rightfully so. We got to take this thing up to the next level and really, really move forward with that. So congratulations to them for doing what they're supposed to do. Finally, Bill, normally we give roses. No roses today.
No roses?
We have an assortment of goods we're giving today. We're giving shrimp. We're giving chicken tenders. We're giving meat patties. We're giving all types of various goods and meats for George Foreman that you could throw on your maybe defunct George Foreman grill. Go get it out of the attic, maybe in the basement, maybe it's in a box in the garage.
It's kind of yellowed at this point.
Maybe it's yellowed. Go pull it out one last time for Big George. Unfortunately, Big George Foreman passed away this past weekend. A legend in the ring, a legend outside of the ring, true American hero. the subject of what I think is the greatest sports documentary, When We Were Kings, which documents the rumble in the jungle, the fight between him and Muhammad Ali. It is a phenomenal documentary. He's not the subject. Obviously, it's about Ali, but he's he's the main character because he gets beat in what would become the rope-a-dope. He goes on and he gets really depressed after losing that. He comes back. And here's where time really throws him. Okay. He comes back and he wins the world championship, Bill, as a ripe old man of 45.
Yeah.
And I remember that when I was not 45-ish, when I was a young wee lad and I was 12 years old at the time. I remember watching that fight. Distinctly watching that fight. I was 12 years old and I was like, wow, 45 is so old.
And he was not exactly what do we want to say, a physically good-looking.
No, the point is, if I look in the mirror, I look like George Foreman when he was 45. We look the same way right now, except he was winning the championship. There's no way I would be able to beat some young, strapping 26-year-old in a fight right now. What is going on? So it's even more, it wasn't really that impressive to me. I was like, back then, I remember my father thought it was cool, but I was like, yeah, of course, the old people think, whatever. It was for old people. Now, to think about being my age and going into a heavyweight ring and winning a boxing match, impossible to happen. And he did it. He did it twice, as a matter of fact. So shout out to the legend George Foreman, legend inside and outside of the ring. Bill, those are Thorns, Buds, and Roses for the week.
All right. Let's see. Dan Hurley.
Yeah.
We need guys like this.
I agree.
You have to have villains to root against. You have to have people in sports. Sports becomes great when you have someone you can cheer against.
I agree.
I, somewhere along the line, have started to like Dan
Taking a
Hurley.
liking to him?
I have taken a liking to it.
Fine.
I like the confidence. I like the swagger. Back-to-back national championships. I was pulling for Florida yesterday, but I understand where you're coming from. And I brought this up a long time ago. Again, we were kind of at the forefront of this. He was a budding pest. He was a budding annoyance. And I think this year, now that they haven't won a championship, this is where everybody's like, the shine is off of you, Mr. Hurley. You really are a villain. Totally for that. You mentioned the Buds. That's a good point on the breaking the losing streak now, 3 straight games, and what happens with South Carolina against North Carolina tomorrow night.
Yeah, they need to take care of business. Biggest game of the year because they, like I said, I've been harping on it but I think it's worth repeating. They were non-competitive this weekend. Yeah, just that doesn't need to go forward.
Just you wait. Tomorrow morning, biggest game of the year. We'll continue to hype that up.
We're here for it.
As we always do. And then George Foreman, that was certainly something. It's crazy you bring up that fight. I remember that we walked across the street. One of the neighbors who we barely knew, my father and I, we barely knew that particular neighbor. You know, like you always had that neighbor that was like good for one thing, but nobody really knew anything else about him. That was that neighbor, and we walked over and watched the fight with him.
Did he have pay-per-view?
Yeah, he did. And a big TV.
Little home box
30
office?
years ago, and the biggest TV you could have for.
It was probably only like 40 inches, I bet. From wasn't huge.
12 years old.
Yeah, I feel you.
Seemed big.
I feel you.
803-404-6100. Come back. We'll get back into a little bit of the Sweet 16 and where we're going with this men's tournament. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. 30 years is a long time. You're being the proven leader for a long time. You're doing something right. And the reason Mid-State Roofing has been the proven leader is because of their background, their history. That is your assurance that their professionals will provide proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility, and they're going to do it in a manner that's both safe and pleasing to you and in your operation. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mid-State Roofing is there to help you with a maintenance contract. You can give them a phone call right now, 829 on a Monday morning, and they will have an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to take your phone call. So make that call, 803-356-1919. Again, it's 803-356-1919. You know what they say. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
White Pond Road at I-20 still working that earlier tie-up, as well as Raven Road at LeGrand. Percival at Morning Glow. Also looks like Monticello Road at Coffin Road, still an accident being worked there. I-26 westbound at I-20. And aside from that, I think that's all we're looking at on the highways this morning. Earlier accidents have been cleared. Good news there. We are going to see maybe a couple scattered showers today, sometime starting maybe around 10 this morning. Should be wrapping up after lunch. 71, that's the high we're expecting. 78 on Tuesday, 75 on Wednesday, mostly sunny both days. And right now, it's warming up a little bit. It's overcast, and it's 55 on 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, I mean, they showed their quality. I mean, I thought we played with tremendous honor. I thought we played with the heart of a championship program and a program that's gone back-to-back. And, for a team to end, what we really wanted to do, they were going to have to put us down. And, obviously a worthy opponent like that, there's honor in the way we went out.
The words of the great Dan Hurley. I think I'm jumping on this bandwagon more and more and more, Preston Thorn. We were talking about it off air. We were watching. I didn't realize it. I guess I just mentioned it or missed it yesterday, but Dan Hurley walking off the court through the tunnel, looking at Baylor as Baylor.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to see it. There's sound, but we cannot use the sound.
No, we can't.
Due to regulations.
We cannot use the sound and retain our job in the same sentence.
Yeah, so he was walking up. Essentially, he said, I hope the refs don't treat you the same way they treated us. Essentially, that's what he said.
So does he become the biggest villain in basketball?
Which, again, with Rick Pitino right there.
Rick Pitino's loved.
This is what I'm saying. With Rick Pitino right there and his checkered past, to say the least, he's right there. Yes, it is. It is Hurley, I think, which shows probably a lot of things about us as people. But I think it's just because he's brash, he's abrasive, and he's winning. It wouldn't matter if he was brash and abrasive if he was losing. When you win and you do all those things, that's when we don't like it.
So then let's listen. This is John Calipari on his team's physicality against St. John's, because I want you to think now. You got Hurley, you got Pitino. Where do we put Calipari? Here's John Calipari yesterday.
There are some games we played this year where the other team said that was a physical team. And I told him and reminded him that. I know St. John's is physical, but we're physical too. The second thing we talked about at halftime is first 5 minutes of this half, we got to get them to call a timeout. And these kids came out and executed, got some rebounds. Now, I don't know if any team that I've coached in a while had 28 offensive rebounds. I take that back. Tennessee did. Tennessee, they had 28 offensive rebounds, and we still won, which is crazy. Rick did a great job with his team all year. If they made a few shots, they probably beat us. So we were fortunate to get out. But I'm proud of these guys, and all of them here had to overcome stuff. And they did. They did because they're good guys. They've been raised right. And they knew they finally, not at the beginning of the year, that we absolutely need each other or we're going down together.
So where do we put John Calipari on our list of basketball coaching villains at this moment?
Maybe he's becoming more likable, that he's changed addresses, that he's not with the quote-unquote blue bloods. It's maybe because he doesn't have all of the lottery picks or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's interesting because the same way a lot of people didn't like Cal, I never really had a problem with Cal. Okay. I never had a problem with Cal, though I could understand why you might. I never really had a problem with Cal. And I wonder if maybe in his later years, maybe he's mellowing out a little bit more, less on the money talk. He's less on the braggadocio, and he's talking about team and things like that. Maybe that's what's happening. But I would not slot him above Hurley right now in the villain.
But you see, so you like Pitino, though.
It's complicated.
Facebook status relationship?
Yeah, it's very complicated. But what I didn't realize, and I texted somebody this over the weekend, these two dudes, Cal and Pitino, have been in my life for my whole life. I've been watching them proud of sidelines as long as I've been watching basketball through various iterations, NBA, college, Big East, whatever the case was. I've been watching those two on the sideline. And so when I say with Pitino, it's complicated because it's like, I've watched him do great things. I've read about some very, very heinous things that he's done. And I'm not talking about the NCAA things, which, by the way, Brian Bowen, thank you, I guess. I don't know. So if somebody was to say, I can't go that far with Pitino, I would understand that also.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy because they had the flashback of Kentucky playing UMass in the Final Four in New Jersey. I think it was 96. I mean, so you're right.
That's a long time
ago. These two dudes have been around for 30-plus years doing their thing, and it was fun watching them on Saturday go against each other. So now we got that. So, again, we look at our brackets, and Preston lost St. John's.
Yeah.
But I've got my Final Four team still intact, and I got my championship. And I feel good about my Michigan State pick to win the national championship.
Really quick on the villain rankings. Bruce Pearl?
I'm unfair on this. I'm biased.
You like him?
I like Bruce.
Okay.
I got to know Bruce when I was scouting, and I talked to him several times, and I'm biased.
So you have to recuse yourself from that?
Yeah, because people, I mean, look.
But you could see it.
He's in there with, I mean, don't get me wrong. But, no, I like Bruce Pearl. So, yeah, I'm pulling for them. I said it earlier, that Michigan Auburn game that'll take place this week. I haven't actually looked ahead to the Thursday, Friday night schedule to see exactly who is who and where is where and what is what. But it should be another really good weekend. And I want to remind you, of course, on Friday, you can come out after the Thursday night's lineup of games. Friday, you can come out and join us at our 107.5 The Game annual spring golf tournament. We'll be having that at Charwood this coming Friday. Call today. Get your foursome secured. 803-755-2000. It's 803-755-2000. We got a lot going on. We'll be giving away tickets. We'll be hanging out. We'll have Saki's Wine and Liquor doing the morning beverages. We'll have sausage rolls for you early on. We got all kinds of stuff. We're partnering up with the Lexington County Gamecock Club, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and we look forward to seeing you out there. Call Charwood today, 803-755-2000. Get yourself registered for our annual Spring Golf Classic. And Preston, by the way, you warming up this week? You got to hit the opening tee shot.
Yeah. No. The answer is no.
No. All right, we'll come back. We'll wrap everything up here on a Monday morning. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, Bill Gunner. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. You've heard me talking about them this morning because you know why? It's National Spring Cleaning Month. Didn't know that? Don't worry, not many people did. I made it up on my own. National Spring Cleaning Month, where right now you can contact Zerorez, 803-262-4020. Mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $119 plus a free hallway. You heard that right. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned plus a hallway for just $119. So give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or book online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Again, when you call, you want to mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, to get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $119 plus a free hallway. It's just that simple. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. All right, weather's starting to turn a little bit. Right now, you're not thinking about your heating and air unit that much. I totally understand. It's beautiful out there. But let me tell you, you're familiar with the dog days of summer here in Columbia. You know how hot it gets. I hope you are ready, because with AAA Heating and Air, they'll make sure that that heating and air unit is working properly. AAA Heating and Air is the go-to name in the Midlands. And with guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty, it is absolutely no wonder why they are the best in the business. So give them a phone call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you, 803-677-1500. Let me repeat that all again, because it's important to hear. Guaranteed financing, no payments or interest for 12 months, and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you, 803-677-1500. Let's give away some baseball tickets right now. 2 pair of tickets. 2 pairs. So we'll take callers 4 and 5. Callers 4 and 5 to Sunday's game. 5 p.m. start time against Tennessee right now. 803-404-6100. You can win 2 pairs of tickets to Sunday's baseball game. Again, I just off-air asked Preston, I was like, it seems like an odd start time, late in the afternoon. I'm not sure if it's on TV or not. I hadn't looked that far ahead. But this coming Sunday, March the 30th, we'll have a pair of tickets for you. 803-404-6100. Callers 4 and 5 will win a pair of tickets to this coming weekend's South Carolina-Tennessee baseball game on Sunday, Preston. And all right, let's kind of do a wraparound here and offer final thoughts. We'll start with baseball. They come off a series sweep. Preston Thorne is ready. Tomorrow morning, biggest game of the coaching career for Paul Mainieri at the University of South Carolina.
It's the biggest game because it's the most latest game, and we're coming off a sweep. And I held off last weekend after the Oklahoma series. I was like, we didn't get swept, so it's not the biggest game. I forgot one of our texts said, but here we are, unfortunately.
Here we are. And South Carolina baseball, it feels to me, we go into this week, and this is almost like last stand week. Like, kind of like, hey, yeah, they're 4 difficult games. They're all going to be difficult. You still got LSU on the schedule. You still got Florida. You got Georgia, who's ranked. But it feels like this week getting a home series against Tennessee and obviously North Carolina, the game in Charlotte tomorrow night. But it feels like this is it. This is the last stand for them.
People have questions, and I think we're going to get maybe some answers by the end of this week.
So that's baseball. That was the awful part of the weekend, because not only did they lose, they got bludgeoned. I mean, it was bad. Basketball, women's basketball, 11th straight Sweet 16. And I kind of brought this up, and I think you kind of glossed over it a little bit, and you were like, well, that's what we expect. Fair, true, very realistic. Also, boy, are we spoiled.
Yeah.
11th straight Sweet 16 for Dawn Staley's team.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's impossibly unfair to them as a unit, because it is a great achievement, one that many programs wish they could have, one that we wish we could have a long time ago, right? Even during the early Dawn Staley years, if we would have said, man, we're going to be at a point where the Sweet 16 is nothing, but I don't know about that. But here we are, and they're moving forward. They're moving forward as the season winds down. They seem to be ramping up and getting ready to play some of their best ball. They
are still the Vegas favorite to win the national championship. So you think about that. They lose 3 games, and we're like, oh, the dynasty's over. The roof is caving in.
Which is even better, because if you look around the way the women's game is being promoted, and rightfully so, star power, Juju, Lauren Betts, I don't know why I just blanked on the name from UConn. Paige Beckers.
Yeah.
All of these stars. And then people are like, oh, yeah, but that's the best team. And they have all the best players. And so it's really interesting, the dynamic that's developing.
So those were the two major things South Carolina related from the weekend, as we have done most of the show with sweep or sweet. It was an up and down weekend.
Yeah, up and down weekend for sure. Very highs, very lows.
And I left out, by the way, in our rundown, in our Gamecock whip around to begin the hour, the softball team, now 24-6 on the season. They took on Texas Tech this past weekend, nearly pulled off the sweep of number 12, Texas Tech. Won Friday, won Saturday, lost yesterday 6-5.
That's probably a bigger game than people realize because Texas Tech has a pitcher who they spent a very large amount of NIL money. She came from Stanford, I believe, and so she was an ace. Mm-hmm. And so they defeated her over the weekend. That's a huge win.
So softball 5-2 there on Friday, 1-0 on Saturday, and they lose yesterday 6-5. But congrats to Ashley Chastain Woodard's softball team there. Is again, they take 2 of 3 from Texas Tech, and now they'll gear up for a huge game tomorrow night against Clemson. That'll be part of the Palmetto series, and then this coming weekend they travel to LSU. So that's a little bit of whip around. Also from the weekends, we kind of wrap things up. NCAA men's basketball tournament. Preston, 1, 2, 4, or 5. What did you have the men's tournament at this weekend in terms of excitement, watchability, enjoyment?
Excitement 2, okay. Watchability 4,
all right.
Enjoyment 4.
Okay. Any storylines that came out of the weekend that really caught your attention?
Obviously, Dan Hurley losing.
Yeah, you seem to like that a lot.
I did enjoy that. Watching Cal sort of take the underdog, I guess, role, which is a new role that Cal has. When I say Cal, Calipari,
John Calipari,
taking the underdog role as the coach, which is not something that he hasn't had the luxury of being that for a long time.
Feel good about your championship? Well, you don't have your St. John's there, but you still feel. I think you've got Alabama, I believe, winning it all.
I still got Bama winning it all.
You sticking with that?
I'm gonna stick with that. I don't feel great about it though.
All right, I went with Michigan State. I've got all 4 of my final 4 teams. Preston's got 3 out of 4. He had St. John's getting in. I had Maryland coming out of that bracket, and I actually still like that. I think Maryland knocks off Florida next weekend. I did miss St. John's in the Sweet 16 against Texas Tech, so I feel good about where I stand with that. 803-404-6100. Final thoughts if you want to weigh in. Reminder to get signed up. Our 1075 The Game golf tournament coming up here on Friday. Call Charwood today. Get yourself registered. It's $400 a team. We'll have the sausage for breakfast. We'll have Saki's Wine and Spirits providing some beverages. So we got golf this weekend as well. Preston.
You might want to take some of those sausages and throw it on your Foreman grill. You might want to throw those sausages on your Foreman grill. And if you want to just pull one of your Foreman grills out from the basement, the attic, wherever it is in a deep closet, put one on the grill one time for the big fella.
And, of course, we will get into our NASCAR segment on Thursday.
Ooh, do we have to?
How about Mr. Harris, Mr. Josh Harris, with Kyle Larson winning?
Score.
Anybody want to know who's in the lead?
You by 1.
That's the theme of the show. Me by 1.
Oh, boy.
Whatever.
Y'all have a great day.
See y'all.
Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it's that proven history that is your assurance that they will get the job done in the manner and the fashion that is pleasing to you and your company. Whether it's your home or whether it's your business, Mid-State Roofing has been taking care of people here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Aiken, Augusta. They have helped make sure that your home stays dry and running for long into the future. So give them a phone call today, 803-356-1919. That's 803-356-1919. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mid-State Roofing is there to help you because they design and install bonded systems with a protective guarantee. So give them a phone call and line up that maintenance contract, 803-356-1919. Call Mid-State Roofing today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.